Why buy a house? Guys, this is one of my favorite topics because I was literally just thinking about this today, which is what sparked this whole video. This is going to be a little bit of a long one, so get comfortable and, take your notes, notepad out, whatever. I was thinking about, we're always helping people buy their first house or helping them qualify to buy their house, or maybe it's even to help buy their second house, their next house, whatever. And one of the things that I was thinking about is my best friend. I'll never forget, my best friend, we were in our mid-20s, and he decided to buy his first house, which I thought was crazy because it was expensive. And I'll never forget this. He couldn't afford to do the fun things. I was always doing the fun things, but I rented. I wasn't buying a house. He was buying a house, so his expenses were a lot more. Now, we both worked 2 jobs, but the difference was one of us invested our income and one of us blew our income. Me. When he first bought his first house, I'm going to say it was somewhere between 140 and 150. Okay, he bought his first house at $150,000, and he had his mortgage payment. Okay, that mortgage payment was based on a $150,000 house. Here's the cool thing about that, though. Their payment didn't change. They weren't in the house for quite 10 years, but it was close. But let's just say it was close to 10 years, okay? They did a little bit of work to the house. They redid the kitchen and they redid one of the bathrooms a little bit. They didn't do a lot, but they definitely did some upgrades to the house. The cool thing about their house was not only were they making that payment, but the value of that house, in 7 years, 8 years later, when they sold that house sold for $250,000 plus or minus. I know they walked away with $100,000 of equity. And that's the whole point of this, guys, because here's what happened next. They bought that first house. They both worked 2 jobs. By the end of this term, they didn't have to work their 2 jobs. But their house was now worth $250,000. That means $100,000 of equity, plus whatever they paid down, but they walked away with $100,000 of cash equity after they sold their house and everything was done, signed, sealed, and delivered. What did they do? They went and they bought a house that was $450,000. Now again, this was 8-10 years ago, so think about over the time of 20 years, they've been making payments that have done nothing but help increase value. At the end of the day, that's their money that they can sell, liquidate, and get cash for. The point of this is this. The $100,000 that they got in the equity from the first house, they applied that. So now their $450,000 house, they only had to get a mortgage for $350,000. That's huge, because think about it, guys. If they didn't have this 5-10 years of payment history, applying these payments to their principal on their mortgage, that becomes equity. That equity they can use to roll into the next house. So instead of having a mortgage on a $450,000 house, they take this 10 years of payment history, and now it's only a mortgage payment on $350,000. Now take that and compare that to your rent. Your rent has no value. Okay, let's say you get an apartment, your first month's rent's $1,200. That could be really cheap, that could be really expensive depending where you are, but let's just say it's $1,200. Every year it's going to go up. Every year this is going to go up. Your rent payment will continue to increase. The problem is this, there's zero value. At the end of that term, whether it's 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, you're going to walk away with no value. We talk to people that have been paying rent for 10, 15 years. Just think about, even if you bought on the small side of things, the lower end of the scale, if you bought a lower house, just think your value is going to continue to go up and you're going to continue to build equity. Why else is this equity really important? Let's just conceptually say they stayed in this house and that this equity just kept going. Now, let's say they have college. You can refinance your house and borrow the money to pay off college. Let's just say they get married and you have a wedding. You can borrow that money out of the equity of your house to pay for that wedding. You're using the house as a financial investment. It's a financial tool. It's something that you cannot do when you're paying rent because you don't own anything. You don't have anything. You don't gain anything. Nothing is growing for you. Okay? It's extremely important to know that if you invest in a home, you invest into putting that money towards principal on the balance, you are now going to gain financial value that over the course of time will compound. Okay? I know it's really nice, and this is part of one of the other things that sparked the conversation. It's really nice when you're a kid to go out and spend that money on fast food or buying Yeezys or whatever those sneakers are that are $350. It's really cool to go out and buy that fancy car because you feel like you earned or you deserve that car. But after a month or two, that fancy car, all of a sudden it goes away. Do you know why? Because somebody else has a newer, fancier car. So you're no longer cool or popular. You know what is really cool and popular? Buying a house. Okay? And when you're 25 years old, sure, you're living broke for a little bit, but it's forced savings. That becomes really cool when your $150,000 house becomes almost a $500,000 house, and none of your other friends have it. Why? Because you were smart enough to properly invest your money and put it into an investment that is going to compound and grow money for you. That's what buying real estate does. That's what buying a nice home does for you. It's going to take your money, your hard-earned money, and it's going to put it into an investment that over the course of time will grow. Your new sneakers aren't going to do that. Your new video game is not going to do that. Your new car is not going to do that. All that stuff's going to cost you money, and it's going to depreciate in value. A house will appreciate in value. So the important thing for you to realize is this, guys. At first it seems like it's painful. At first it seems like it's a sacrifice. And it is. Doing push-ups, jumping jacks, and going for runs is painful at first. But then when you start to see the end result, you say, that was all worth it. I should do more of that. When you invest your money into a house and apply that money towards a forced savings account, which would be your loan, at the end of the day, when all that money accumulates and starts to accrue interest and gain equity, all of a sudden now you're going to say, man, I am so glad I did that. So how many people are watching this video right now that are 35, 40 years old, and they wish that back when they were 25 years old, they started doing this? I know I did. I wish I wasn't that ignorant. I was ignorant. And that's the whole point of this, guys, is when you realize that your life is a direct result of the actions you take, where you are now, where are you? Where you are now and what your life looks like right now is because of what you did back here. If you made good decisions, if you made good investments, if you invested in your future, most likely you're going to love where you're at right now. And you probably love your life. If you didn't, if you made poor decisions and you lived paycheck to paycheck, you didn't save, you didn't invest, you probably don't like your life so much right now. You probably have a lot more stress, you're probably nowhere near as happy, and you definitely don't have anything to show for it. So do yourselves a favor, guys. Invest in your future. Take a look at your finances. You can still have fun. You can still go buy cool sneakers. You can still go buy a car that you like. Don't go buy a brand new car. And definitely don't be paying 17% interest. Okay? Work on your credit. Work on your savings. Once you have money saved up, once you have things, all your debts paid off, then you go reward yourself with something nice. But make sure you're making the proper investments into your future, because trust me, I promise you over the course of time, that investment into your future is going to make your future that much better. Okay? That was a long one, guys. I hope you had fun with that one. If you like this one, if this was moving for you, if I'm talking directly to you because you're in this exact situation, do me a favor. Like it, subscribe, send it to somebody else, share it with everybody. Do what you can, because we want to help create this movement of knowledge, this movement of education and taking action. Education with execution leads to happiness. I don't even know where that came from. That was pretty cool. Education with execution equals happiness. Make sure that you're taking this knowledge, you're investing in yourself, you're implementing it on a daily basis, and if you do it on a daily basis, it won't be as painful for you. All right? Hope you guys have an awesome day. Thanks for your time. Later.